And we are in Brachot, 63a4. Now, in the Scroll, so it's interesting to note that right now we're with the Gemara, but in the Ein Yaakov, for some strange reason, when it goes from Rav Ichista, the last thing we learned, namely stitching, what's a real sort of job you should give your kid that's easy, which was stitching doublets in furrows. Remember that? And that was an easy job. So then what happened was, in this volume of Ein Yaakov, for some reason, it goes back to page 58.
Oh.
So that was interesting. We're not going to do that because we already covered 58.
You mean there's different editions of...
I don't know, but here, certainly this one, it's saying it identifies it as going back to 58. So I'm not sure why somebody, when they're putting it together, would have done that. But you have to go through a couple of pages until we finally
the actual main body of the Ein Yaakov?
Yeah.
Huh.
Right. So what happens is I just turned the pages to get till I got to where we were, but it's very interesting that this volume anyway. It would be interesting to know of other volumes. Yeah. If there was just a misprint in this volume, which is possible, but it lists everything from 58. Like I said, we already did 58, so I'm not going to go back to it, but it's just interesting to know. So if anybody's trying to watch, and if they have the Ein Yaakov with them, it's on page 210.
You're trying to follow the...
I'm following the Ein Yaakov.
So when you're
I'm using the Gemara.
You're jumping as he jumps.
Right, yeah. Right. Well, normally, but again, he already covered that, so I'm not sure why he's covering it again. So I'm guessing it may have just been a misprint. Okay. That's what I'm guessing. But so let's go on. So now we're in the Gemara again. It's Tanya. So Rabbi, we learned in a Braita that Rabbi said, Rabbi said, the Olam al yar be'adam re'im betoch beto. A person should never invite too many friends into his home. Why? Shneimar, as it says in the pasuk, Ish re'im lehitch ro'eya. A man with too many friends is destined to quarrel. Oh, so it's never a good idea to invite too many people. It's like having Thanksgiving every day when you invite the whole family over. 9 times out of 10, we're going to get into some sort of headache. So he said, our scroll quotes from Proverbs. Yeah. It's come from Proverbs, and it says, this refers to people with whom one has no dealings. One who allows such people into his home will sooner or later quarrel with them and be harmed. That's Rashi. And then Meiri states that Rebbe's teaching refers to untrustworthy people. The Maharsha explains that if one has too many acquaintances, it is inevitable that some will be untrustworthy. So what we're worried about is people coming to your house and doing things they should not be doing. Good fun. You're going to come to argue.
It's just you want to have it sounds like a big party for the sake of having a big party. So the more people, the merrier. Just like that. You never know.
That's one thing. Also, it could just be that you're just a friendly type of guy that wants to bring everybody in because you think you're going to be Makari of them. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to leave
You have, right? You want to be all inclusive. You want to be all inclusive. So when you're all inclusive, as I was saying this morning, you end up excluding everybody. But that is a problem when you. So the Rebbe is saying that you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't invite so many people into your house. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't invite those same people at different times into your house. It means as a group, don't invite them because it is going to be a quarrel. And if you think about it, again, going from what we did this morning, if you think about it, when do people normally get into a fight? When they realize they're no longer necessary.
Oh,
that's as long as go for a minyan. As long as there's 10 people, only 10 people in town, you all have to work together and you have to get it done. Once the pisher walks into town, number 11, they call him the pisher because somebody cannot go to the bathroom. That's why it's called the pisher. So once the pisher walks into town, so now suddenly everybody has a reason to have an argument with somebody else because they're not necessary. That's why the old joke goes that when there was 10 people. They had a minyan every single day, Shachar Mincha. The 11th person walked in, they never had a minyan again. Because we all said the other guy was going to come. Okay. So, but that's, if you ever watch, if the shul has no minyan, there is no politics to the shul. There's none. Nobody's there. You just have an empty building. Once you make a building, suddenly everybody wants to wants to make the minyan. Suddenly everybody's telling you how you should be running the minyan. Okay, and you get politics, and you get anger, and you get al mishagasim. The kids should be quiet. The adults should be quiet. The dog should be quiet. The telephone should. If you go into places like in New York, like Landau's, they used to have it. I don't know if they still have it. A sound was there because everybody had these things before they were this. They used to have, but it was they were buzzing, everything else ringing. So they used to have a sign, please turn on. They had it with the cell phone, and the line through it.
Right.
Turn off your cell phones, you people. Okay. And of course, there's always somebody who didn't turn off the cell phone because they were just so darn important, and their telephone was ringing, but because they were involved in Shemon Esrei, they couldn't reach into the pocket and disturb themselves, and rather disturb the rest of the shul, and to press a button. Okay. So there was always that one character, and that would be the one who gets into a fight with everybody else about all the stupidities. So that would be an example of when you invite too many people in, you're going to have fights. Okay. So Tanya, it was taught in the Breita, Rabbi Omer, Al Yamane, this is an interesting one. Watch what happens. Al Yamane Adam apotropis betoch beto. One should not appoint another, an administrator in his house. Why? Because ilmale lomina Potiphar et Yosef apotropis betoch beto. For had Potiphar not appointed Yosef as the administrator in his house, lo ba oto davar, the incident would not have he would not have come to be involved in that unsavory incident, namely when Potiphar's wife attempted to seduce Yosef. We see that giving a stranger too much authority in one's house can lead to no good. Now, when I first saw the Gemara, I said, wow, what an interesting thing. They're blaming Yosef, they're blaming Potiphar for Yosef's indiscretion.
Yosef so much power.
Right. And we're using Yosef as the poster boy for not giving so much power. So he says, for the authority Yosef possessed, caused his master's wife to notice and desire him, whereupon she attempted to seduce him. One ought to take a lesson from that incident and avoid delegating such authority within his home to a stranger. And that's what he was. He was a stranger. Okay, fine. Next. But Avram had Eliezer, yes. So therefore, he didn't make him a Petropis. He made him the manager. No, the difference is that Potiphar, I hear what you're saying. I think I hear what you're saying. So I'm going to rephrase your question. Okay, if you don't mind, then you'll tell me if I'm understanding your question. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. You want to say, just as Potiphar appointed Yosef to be the Epitropis, the manager of the house, so also did Avram appoint Eliezer. And therefore, it seems from here that he should not have appointed Eliezer. Yes?
Yes, and in fact it came to fruition. Eliezer wanted his daughter for Yitzchak.
And Eliezer wanted to marry Yitzchak to his daughter. Yes. Okay, fine. Now, I want to see the nafkamina, the practical difference between Avram and Potiphar is the Torah testifies about Potiphar that he trusted Yosef so much that he did not even know what was going on in the house except for the bread that he ate, namely his wife, or simply the bread. When it comes to Avram, it never says he didn't know. He always knew what Eliezer was doing. He told Eliezer, no, your daughter can't marry. Sorry, tough luck.
Eliezer wasn't a stranger either.
Well, he was a servant.
But he had a closer relationship
I'm not sure. That I don't know, because Eliezer, according to the Gemara, was Og.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so
According to one magic.
according to Mandamer, he's a whole bunch of people. But
318?
yeah, whatever. 318. He's 318 soldiers because his name is Eliezer. Well, that's a numerical value of 318. So we really don't know who Eliezer is, but apparently he was somebody who Avram was Makarev, got closer to Yiddishkeit, or to God, but he was always supervising him. He was always the Rav. Potiphar seemed to have, he was, what do they call that? Absentee landlord. What do they call, the CEO has nothing to do with the business for the most part. What does Moshe call himself?
Oh, the chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board. I really don't get involved in the nitty gritty. That's what he said. It's a hands-off owner where he doesn't get in. He sets everything up.
Delegates.
He delegates the power to somebody else. And if he has to come in, you're fired. That's it. You're fired at that point. You're not going to do it. He doesn't want to have to clean up the damage, but he's basically hands-off management. He'll let you do what you're going to do until he doesn't like it. So that's what Potiphar was here. Unlike Avram, where Avram knew everything. Avram saddled the donkeys. You know, he didn't. If God gave him a donkey, he didn't tell Eliezer. Even though, and think about it, Eliezer was going too, which means he saddled his donkey. He must have told everybody else, saddle your donkey. But he was very much in charge. So I would say that was an nafkamina between having an apotropos where I'm putting you in charge. You're my total manager. I don't want to know anything. As compared to Avram, where I don't think he gave that sort of authority to him. That's my havamina. That would be what I say is a nafkamina. By the way, it would have been better, just for the argument's sake, it would have been better if you were right. Because I'd rather blame Eliezer than to look at Yosef as the reason that we shouldn't learn to be an apotropos. I mean, Yosef at tzaddik.
It's not Yosef's fault. It's Potiphar. We're looking at Potiphar.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but you're picking on him ultimately. I didn't like it bothered me when I saw it. I said, you're picking on Yosef.
He was the hero in the story, but he didn't set it up that way.
Okay. Like I said, I would have rather have the other one. Okay. So Tanya was talking to Bright another teaching from Rebbe. Again, once we talk about Rebbe, the teachings do not have to match up under any circumstance. Yeah. Now we just have a matter of throw some water. Poor guy's asleep. Okay. You remember of the old joke? There was a woman who went into a Jewish bookstore and said it was a non-Jewish woman, she said, I need the big book. That big book what has paint on it, right here. He said, what are you talking about? He said, I don't know what the book is called, but the one who, my boss, whenever he comes home, it's Friday night, he puts on this stand, he opens it up, and within 5 minutes he's asleep. My husband needs that.
Insomnia.
Right. There you go. Have to get you out trying to wake up. Put that sugar in your system. Okay. So Tanya has been taught in the Braita. Rabbi Omer. Rabbi said, Laman is parashat Nazir, the parashat Sota, famous. By the way, anybody who learns Chumash with Rashi, this is where Rashi is getting a lot of stuff. This is one of the places that you see these midrashim that we see 1,000 times in Rashi. Okay, so if anybody ever wonders where Rashi getting it from, it's everything's from the Gemara. If you really want to see a lot of Rashi, Perek Chelek in Sanhedrin. Unbelievable. You can fly through that Gemara because we know it so well from Rashi. From Rashi and Chumash. That's all it is. Okay, so he says, why is the Parsha, the section of Nazir, which is making the Nazarite vow, next to or right immediately following the Parsha of Sota, which is the Torah part concerning the suspected adulteress? So just to give you the background for this, he says that Sota is a married woman who secludes herself with a man other than her husband in direct defiance of her husband's command. What happened was the husband got jealous of his wife because he saw his wife going into a room where they could have sexual relations. Before that, I'm sorry. She saw her wife being friendly with somebody, and what he thought was beyond the call of duty. And so he says to his wife, I forbid you from being alone with Poloni, period. And if you do, so what happens is woman is seen alone with Poloni until, with enough time for them to engage in sexual relations. We don't know whether or not they did. The wife is now, and there's witnesses to her going in with him. The husband is no longer allowed to engage in marital relations until she goes through this test of sota. If she is proven guilty, then she will die. Her body will explode, along with her paramour. If she's not guilty, if she's innocent, so then the husband can resume marital life with her, and she would be blessed with children, and so on and so forth. Why would we have to go through such a test? It was because Hashem wanted to ensure that there was harmony in the home. And so the one way to clear the woman from such a thing would be to say that, to show in a miraculous manner that she was innocent. So there's all a way to make marital harmony. The husband shouldn't have really done what he did anyway, but there's a reason. We're going to find out the reason that he gets involved in this too. But that is the case. If this woman denies having committed adultery during her seclusion, she is brought to the holy temple, where she is given a drink of specially prepared waters intended to prove her innocence or guilt. In the course of her ordeal, she is publicly humiliated. Her hair is uncovered, and her dress torn to the shoulders. Why is she humiliated? Because part of the test of sota is to erase God's name. Right? Because you're writing down the parsha of this section, which has God's name in it. You're going to dissolve the ink. So therefore Hashem's name is erased. And Hashem said, better my name be erased in order to ensure harmony in the home than not to do that. So all the way through, we publicly humiliate her so that to get her to admit what she did, if she did it. Yeah, what your question was?
That was the thing. It's contingent on if she denies it, then she has to go through the trial.
Yeah. If she accepts it, if she
admits it, then it's just to get divorced.
Yeah, get a divorce. Have a good day. You can't kill her,
right?
Because with no witnesses to her doing it, and they didn't give proper warning. So he would be able to write her if she would say I'm guilty, then he would just write a bill of divorce, rid of the divorce, but she would get no money. Normally, when a woman gets divorced, part of the promise of the marriage of your ketubah is a prenup. It's a prenuptial document. So it says what you will get upon divorce. So if the husband has divorced the wife, he has to give her basically a year's salary. Okay? And so he doesn't want to give a year's salary. A year's salary is a lot of money. No matter what, it's a lot of money. So I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. If you work at McDonald's and you have to give a year's salary to this woman, you're going to really think about divorce. By the way, that's why divorce is not so rampant. If you think about it, I mean, even we're 50, 60%. Why aren't 40 other percent who are miserable not getting divorced? Because they don't have the money. So you have to pay for the lawyer. You have to make all the settlements. It's an expensive ordeal to get divorced. So unlike getting married, which is no expense, it's $10. You get your marriage license. Was it $10, $25, whatever it is these days? And you go and you say, and you don't even have to pay for anybody. You go to the JP, Justice of the Peace. You say the vows. Do you promise? Do you do this? Do you like her? Whatever the expressions are. And you say, yeah, shkayach, weiter. And he says, okay, you're now married. And so you say, I don't think it's the bride. No, next. But on time. You want to kiss the bride? Go to your priest. Leave me alone.
Do it on your own time.
Just do it on your own time. I have people here. I have a whole lineup here. But so marriage is not is very easy to get into. It doesn't cost much. Divorce, you have to split all your assets. I mean, depending on which state you're in. So that will really make you think twice. Am I that miserable that I want to lose that much money? Of course, you can always sign a prenup that says I'll give you nothing, but still it costs money. But that's really what it is. So if you, just to answer that question, but this woman doesn't want, first of all, she doesn't want to lose her money. So, but at the same time, does she want to die?
Right.
By the way, when won't she die even if she did commit adultery? If the husband did. If the husband fooled around. So then the Gemara says, in other words, if he's not as pure as the driven snow, so she gets away with murder, if you will. She can do what she wants. And the test won't work. The test is only supposed to work if he is pure, and so on and so forth. If he spoke out against these things. But otherwise, the Gemara says, it doesn't work, which is why in the end, that test was obliterated. Because people were, the test wasn't working. And so people say, so the test is all a fake anyway. And so the Gemara says insulted that they stopped the test because the husband was not Roy, wasn't fitting for that. Okay, but so one who observes this should realize that it was wine that ruined this woman. Her intoxication caused her to become lax in her morals. He should take a lesson from this and pledge to become a Nazir, which is one who vows in part to refrain from partaking of wine or any other grape product. The Nayos Adesher wonders why one who himself did not sin, but merely observed the ruination of a sota, should take a vow to become a Nazir. He explains that this Gemara is teaching that all one he sees or hears does not come by his way by coincidence, but contains a divine message. One must therefore view his encounter with the sota as a sign from above and act accordingly. Again, here's something most for everybody. Everything we see, we were supposed to see. Everything we experience, we were supposed to experience. And we're supposed to do tshuva based upon it. So if you see a drunk walking down the street stumbling, you're not just supposed to just think, what a bum, he's drinking all day long. You're supposed to take a message, some sort of tshuva. Am I like that drunk walking into walls? And obviously not real walls, but how about halachic walls? How about all the walls that we have, that we erect around our moral systems, namely the Torah is erected? Are we knocking into those walls? Are we staggering when it comes to observing Torah? Okay, that's how you should be viewing it, not just another drunk. He should rest. You see somebody sleeping on a park bench because they are the paper's open and because they're drunk and they don't have a house. Again, you should start thinking about that. Do I have a house? Do I have this? Do I have that? Not just a physical house, but again, a spiritual. You're trying to do tshuva here. So yeah. So then what happens? That was 37. Okay. So, no, not yet. Okay. I underlined some things here. That's why I wanted to just make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, here it is. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one. The epitropos. Well, I know I want to say the mother of the epitropos. Let's go back 1 second. When he became the epitropos, the administrator, so the Iyun Yaakov says what happened with him? Why did she suddenly notice him? That's the question that he wants to know. Why did Potiphar suddenly what? Why did she suddenly desire him? She didn't notice him before. After all, he was in the house for a long time. She says, "Kishara atzmo moshel cholashilo." When Yosef himself, when he saw himself being the ruler of the entire household, suddenly he started to care about his appearance. Before they didn't care about his appearance. Now he starts to eat properly, he starts to drink properly, and then he's combing his hair, and suddenly she comes into the picture because now she's noticing him. Before that, you understand? Before that, he was just a regular guy. He wasn't a long-haired, freaky person. What do you want with torn clothes? But now you're the manager. It fits the manager to dress properly. You have to button the top button. You have to make sure everything's starched. You're a leader, right? You're going to the store. You're representative of the person. So you don't walk in with horrible clothes. You walk in properly. You take care of yourself. You shave or you trim. Whatever you have to do, you do. Okay. And once he started to do that, so apparently he was a good-looking guy. He says, Yifat Torah, Yifat Gemara, if he's a good-looking guy, so then she notices him. And if you ever wonder about that, think about when people get haircuts and shave, okay? What they do, if they have a beard, okay, and they would suddenly, if anybody watches my videos, you'll see a nice long beard, and then it's shorter, longer, and then none, whatever. Okay? Sometimes long hair, sometimes short hair, and sometimes I'll have long hair, short hair with a very trim beard. All depends on what the period of the year was. Now, what happens is when I do all that, people will notice that, and they'll say, if I have very long hair, well, long is for me is long is not what they call long hair here, but for me, what I consider long when it starts to get really bushy. And so then people just say, when I finally get the cut, they'll say, "Oh, you clean up well. You clean up well." Okay, it's an interesting statement. You clean up well, and suddenly everybody's noticing that. They say you lost weight, blah blah blah, all these different things. Well, that's what people notice, as compared to if I just walk around with long hair and so on and so forth. Nobody really notices that because I just blend in, or they think that I'm a hobo. So whatever they want to think. Okay, but that's. So that's why when he saw himself in that rulership position, he decided, I better take care of myself. As a result, she notices him. Okay, that's all I want to say. Now, next part, back to the Sota. So it says, the Gemara follows this teaching with another regarding the place of the laws of Sota. So this is Amar Chazkiah Berei de Rav Parnach, Amar of Yochanan. So Chazkiah, the son of Rav Parnach, the son of Rav Yochanan, says, Lama nismecha parashat sota, the parashat from Mashrod. So now, why is the section of sota, the suspected adulteress, following the parasha dealing with giving trumot and meiser, the taxes that we had to give? Lo marlacha, to tell you, kol sheyesh lo trumot ma'asrot. That anybody who has these trumos on Maisrot, again these tithes, and he does not give them to the Kohen like he's supposed to, or to a Levite, Sof, in the end, Nitzrach la Kohen al yedei ishto, will in the end be brought at his wife's hand to require the services of the Kohen through her becoming a Sota Shnema, as it says, V'ish ekedashav lo yiyu. And the man's holy things, they will be for him. The samichle, and next to that will be, juxtaposed to that will be ish ki tista ishto, that any man whose wife strays, uchtiv, and that's written after that, ve'ish edishto, and subsequently written, and the man shall bring his wife to the Kohen. So the joining of these verses teaches that one who withholds his trumot and maestro will in the end be faced with a wife who is a sota and will be compelled to bring her before the Kohen. So that is really a Chad Gadya story, but it's one leads to the next. You didn't give your taxes because remember, you're a farmer. Let's face it, you're a farmer and you're making your money, and farming doesn't have a great profit margin. So even in a agrarian society didn't have great profit margins, you were shooting for that. So here, I have to give my meiser, I have to give my truma. Well, you know how much I could do with my truma and my meiser? How much I could feed my family? It's not money, by the way, it's grain. So, you know how much I could do with all this stuff? Oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could feed my kids, and I could sell it more for more money. So people would decide, you know what, I don't know if I want to give so much. The Kohen doesn't need so much, leave me alone. I'll be stingy. As a result of that, Hashem said, if you don't give me what I'm demanding from you to give, I'm going to get it out of you one way or the other. The Kohen has to make his money. The Kohen is working for you. Remember, the Kohen works for you. You hired him. You know that, right? You all hired him because when you prayed to the golden calf, you sold out your portion to the priesthood. That's what happened. You and me did, man. You're the only one.
Yeah, me and Hashem Elohim.
Yeah, right. The Levites are the only ones. The Levites and Kohanim are the only ones who didn't get involved. So we became the runners of the Mishkan, ultimately Beis Hamikdash, and we get the rewards of that. We also don't get land. So we became your representatives. So as a result of that, when you don't give us our pay, which is what you're doing when you bring us the stuff, we're partners, but you didn't share with us. So now what happens is Hashem says, oh, you didn't pay your worker, you didn't pay your partner. Guess what? I have plenty of ways to get you to give money and to ruin your life as a result. Okay? So really that's what happens. And so if you pay your taxes on time, then you won't have to worry about that. That's why it also says later on, if we give our in all the halachic farm out there that say we have to give meiser, it says this famous pasuk, which we're going to run into anyway, but I'll say it ahead of time, asir to asir. If you give tithes, you will become rich, or I will give you back. So in other words, I've said this many times on tape and otherwise, if I am making $100,000, I'm obligated by halacha to give $10,000 to tzedakah. Figure out what tzedakah you want to give to, but tzedakah. Okay. And where do you give it to? Midwest Torah Center. There you go. Write the checks out, send them in quickly. We need the money. Okay.
But it's up to you.
We have to pay off our cable, right? Right, it's up to you. We have to pay off our Wi-Fi. Okay. But let's say you didn't give that. Let's say you gave $1,000. You made $100,000, and you say, Midwest Torah Center, you know what? I'm going to be a tzaddik. I'm going to be a gavir. I'm going to give him $1,000 in one shot. Boom! $1,000, okay. And then you decide, I don't have to give anybody else money, and you spend the rest. So Hashem says, shkayach, okay. You gave $1,000. You know what your net income is going to be next year? 10,000. 10,000. I'm going to give you 10%. You gave 10%. So you gave 10%. Okay, I'm going to give you $10,000. You're going to say, what happened? I was rich. I had $100,000. I had such a great job. And I had such a great business. And suddenly I have $10,000. And so you come to me and I say, how much did you give tzedakah? You gave me 1,000. I know you gave me 1,000. How much did you give to everybody else? So you say, well, no, I didn't. The halacha says I don't have to really give 10%. I know that it's a halacha. I know the halachas. Leave me alone. I have to give something. Meiser is only talking about grains. I've heard these arguments 1,000 times. And I say to them, okay, so Hashem said to you, since you won't be so makbid on the halacha like that, he was makbid on you too. He was particular on you too. He said, okay, I'm going to give you 10,000 because I'm really not obligated to give you anything either. Okay, so I gave it 10 grand. So, is it worthwhile cheating the Lord? That's the question you always have to ask yourself when you're writing out those checks or giving that stuff. Is it worthwhile doing? And if I give more than I'm supposed to give again, Hashem said I didn't ask for that either. Don't be more generous than I am. Okay, so be careful with what we do, but nonetheless, that's what's going on. So you want to get into that sort of thing, and that's why he's saying they're all connected. So if I didn't give my proper meiser, then what's going to happen is my wife is going to have sota. My wife's going to become a suspected adulteress. From my wife becoming a suspected adulteress, somebody's going to see the event, and they're going to become a nazir. I'll talk about that tshuva. I mean, think about that tshuva here. A long way to get to the poor guy to do tshuva. But so now what happens is, he explains, the holy things mentioned in this verse are the Truma and Meiser again. Truma is a portion of one's produce that is separated and given to the Kohen. Ma'aser is a tithe that one gives to a Levite. In its simple understanding, the verse teaches that these things remain one's own until the moment one gives them away.
When it says gives to a Levite, that's not necessarily a Kohen.
Correct.
Right, so they just be any.
No, a Levite.
Right, just be, but not.
You have to give a portion to the Kohen, and then you also have to give a portion to the Levite.
Right, but the Truma is the Kohen.
Yes.
And the
Meiser is to the Levite.
The Levite, does it have to be a Kohen, or can it just be any Levite? Because Kohens are Levite.
Kohen is a Levi, technically. He's asking, can you give it to a Kohen also?
No.
Right, okay. So you have to split because the Kohens are different.
They have different jobs.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Good question.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the simple understanding, the verse teaches that these things remain. Sorry, I said that. Our Gemara, however, is expounded in the verse as a reference to one who wishes to keep these gifts for himself. His holy things will be for him and refuses to distribute them all. Okay, fine. So that's really what you're trying to stay away from. So now, and then it says, in addition to Truma and Meiser, one is also required to separate another tithe from his produce. In the first, second, fourth, and fifth years of every 7th year Shemitah cycle, this additional tithe is Meiser Sheni. It must be taken up to Yerushalayim and consumed there. During the 3rd and 6th years of the Shemitah cycle, this tithe is earmarked for distribution to the poor. It is known as Meiser Oni, the tithe of the poor. The Gemara is now expounding the verse to teach a double lesson. Firstly, it discusses one who keeps his things holy for himself. Secondly, it teaches that such a person will himself eventually be forced to receive these things through the distribution of the tithes to the poor. The holy things will thus be for him. Although tithes to the poor possess no actual holiness, the verse refers to them as holy because of the mitzvah connected with their distribution. Okay. So now the Gemara now states the benefit that accrues to one who properly distributes his truma and meiser. Amar Rav Yitzchak, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. If not, no, so mitasher. If one, like I said, if one does give these gifts, in the end he will become rich. Shneamar, as it says, ish asher yitain lekohen lo hiyeh. A man who gives these things to the Kohen, it will be for him. Lo yet mamon harve. This means that he will be, for him, there will be great wealth. He says this verse in its entirety reads thus: if a man's holy things, they will be for him. A man who will give them to a Kohen, it will be for him. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak takes note of the contrast between the verse's first clause, which, when referring to the holy things, uses the plural they will be for him, and the second clause, when it uses the singular it, will be for him. Since this latter clause, accordingly, cannot be referring to the holy things, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak expounds it as discussing the reward due one who properly distributes these things, namely great wealth. Okay, so another teaching promising great wealth for meritorious behavior. Amar Rav Huna ba berechia mishum Rabbi Elazar kafar. Kol hamshatev shem shemam b'saro koflim lo parnsato. Anyone who makes the name of heaven a partner in his distress, they double his livelihood for him. Imagine that. You call God into the heaven distress. Shneimar says, Vayash shakai b'tzarecha v'chesev to afot lach. If the Lord will be included in your distress, then double money to you. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar. Parnsatom ofefet lo tzipor. His livelihood will fly to him like a bird. It will be provided for him without difficulty. Shneimar says, v'kesef to afot lach. Then money will take wing for you. Not bad. He says, one who makes God a partner in his distress through prayer, either by willingly accepting his decree, with the blessing of Baruch Dayana Emet, blessed the true judge, or by asking for mercy. Either way, he's making God the partner. The Gra states that this partnership is accomplished by one's recognition that his trouble did not come upon him by happenstance, but was brought upon him by the Almighty's direct decree. The Maharsha, however, interprets Rav Elazar Kafar's statement in a more literal sense. For it is a fact that when a Jew undergoes suffering, God himself suffers along with him. As God states regarding one who seeks his refuge, Imo anochi b'tzara, I am with him in his distress. One who recognizes this, even if he possesses no merit of his own, can request salvation from Hashem's own sake. In the same vein, okay, so that's what you should keep in mind, that when you have things going on, it's never happenstance. Again, we're getting into a lot of Musa here, but that is what's going on. As long as we keep remembering that it's all from Hashem, it's all from Hashem, it's all from my goodness, it's all from Hashem, and that mantra keeps going, then and you finally believe it, then it's going to help. But it's really important, as all these forums point out here, all the books point this out. I should start off little with the little things in life instead of going for the big things. Okay, in other words, I put my hand in my pocket, the wrong pocket, and I get nervous, and then I realize it's in the other pocket, and thank God. Wow. So at that point, you should say Yaakov b'dei shamayim, whatever the extreme you want to say, that is God. Whatever you want to say, that's God. Because if I can convince myself, if I remember to do that in that small incident, so also in the major incidents, I'm just going to be conditioned to be recognizing that this is from God. Not lying to myself, but recognizing. Okay? Because what happens is people always, the toilet starts to overflow and the kids are crying and everything's happening at once and you're saying, ah! So you just scream. And as you should be saying, thank you. Thank you for all of the kapara. Thank you. And that's it. Kol b'dei shamayim. Everything's from you. Everything's from you. Yeah.
Let's get on that toilet. Don't
Say it again?
Don't let it overflow. Start don't let it overflow. Fix it, but
Don't what?
don't
Don't let it overflow.
Thank you. Get on the toilet, then thank God.
No, you should think while it's happening.
Okay, right.
That's the point. You have to care. I'm not saying not to care, but you have to thank God for it.
Right.
You have to recognize it's from Hashem. For whatever reason, Hashem had that back up on you. You have to say, "Oh, this is all from Hashem." Boom, 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 boom. Get rid of it. No, I'm not arguing that it should overflow and fill your house. I'm not saying that, but you have to realize it's from Hashem, and not because you're going to say, "Who put blank down the toilet?" What does it matter? You can yell later. Fix it right now. It's ultimately it's only money, but it's. But again, then you have to. If you can't fix it, by the way, you have to wonder why couldn't I plunge this? What did I do that God is causing me to spend my money? Where did I not spend my money properly? What didn't I do that would cause this? And I can't believe, by the way, everybody wants to say, it was just testing, I was being tested. No. Most people, there's no accidents, but it's also not, I'm being tested every 2 seconds. Hashem tests only those who have no other problems in their life. Hashem wants to bring us up. Give it like Avraham Avinu, gives a test. But everybody else, we did something. And then, by the way, you're seeing it here. He didn't want to give to Meiser, so what happens? His wife is friendly to another person. He gets jealous of that. He wants his wife. The wife gets angry with him for saying, "You don't trust me? I'll show you." She does something, and then she goes in, and then he has to spend money anyway. Either she's going to die that day, if she did something, or she's not going to die. Now, that, by the way, with all that marital harmony, let's be honest with yourselves, okay? I just accused my wife of adultery. My wife, even if she is innocent, is not going to really have the same love for me anymore. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. She's going to look and say, okay, what, you don't trust me anymore? What kind of nonsense? If you don't trust me, by the way, maybe I shouldn't trust you. So with all the marital harmony that's going to happen via this test, I can see a lot of marital breakup because the husband wasn't being smart about this. And all because he wanted to save a couple of bucks. That's all it was. He wanted to save some money. And so in the end, he spends it, he tortures himself. He has to make up for his wife the rest of his life for thinking something. And on top of that, he lost some money anyway. And so the only good thing that came out of it was this guy did tshuva and he became a nazir, which now he's going to spend him more money. So the question is, why did he have to see it? Why did he have to see it? What money didn't he give to somebody? What didn't he do to somebody? Did he have in mind to do something he shouldn't have been doing? So now he sees the problems of wine. Was he heading down the bad path? So again, is it a test? No, it was picking on that person for a reason. That's how you have to view it, okay? Then it says, let me finish off. Job said the word to a foe connotes a doubling. So of course with the target, okay, so it just means double. So again, if you have God, if you include God with your suffering, so you'll be good. One more. Amarav Tavi Amarav Yoshia. Anyone who weakens himself from words of Torah, he will have no strength to stand in the day of distress. Shanamos says, Ha trafita b'yom tsar kochecha. If you have weakened yourself, then on the day of distress, your strength will be constricted. Amarav Ami Bar Matno Amar Shmuel Afilu mitzvah achat. And it is true even if one has weakened himself with the performance of only a single mitzvah. Shneimar says, Hitrapita b'chol makom. If you have weakened yourself, which implies no matter what the level of one's weakness, it will affect him on the day of distress. So what does it mean for the angels that normally give a person that the strength to withstand his tribulations will not aid this individual? Maharsha states that this teaching refers not to one who neglects Torah study entirely, but to one who studies without diligence or enthusiasm. In other words, you're just running through. You haven't really done anything that's going to be a safeguard for you. Okay, we'll have to stop here. See ya.